Yes, it has, isn't it? Uh, I would apologise, but I don't know whether or not I have enough subscribers to apologise. Um, I will try and keep these a little bit more frequent in the future because I do quite enjoy doing them. Anyway, yeah, welcome. Recording for the first time, I think, in my office. Possibly not. I don't know. I hope you're enjoying the picture of Sean in the background there. He's looking fine, isn't he? Yeah. Um, well, I want to make a quick announcement because that's I think a very important thing to do. I've started up a new podcast with my friend Graham and Derek. It's called Whom Pods Destroy, and it is a hopefully bi-weekly Star Trek discussion podcast. Nothing too frantic. The last episode we talked about God. Yeah, nothing too heavy. But yeah, so it's a mixture of talking about the movies, the episodes, and some of the themes and the subjects and the things that you think about, in relation to the original series of Star Trek. We're starting out on just talking about the original series, and the reason why we're doing that is manifold. Actually, it's only onefold. It's basically to give us some kind of help us with to maintain some kind of focus and some discipline when it comes to producing the pod. But also, I guess it's because we are the most familiar with the original series. I mean, I have seen all the Star Trek, more than a few times over, and even Enterprise I've watched, in some instances 3 times, and for the most part twice. But I grew up on the original series and I know it off by heart almost. It's alarming and frightening. But we will move into Next Gen and DS9 and Voyager over time when we're ready to do that, and we may well start talking about that sooner. But the idea is to keep focused on the original series. Our next episode is going to be on What a Little Girl Was Made Of, and the Ultimate Computer, and we're going to have a discussion about artificial intelligence as well, in sort of the Star Trek original series context. So you can listen to that podcast. The first 2 episodes are already out. If you visit whompodsdestroy.com, whompodsdestroy.com. It's clever, isn't it? It's Graham's idea. And just click on the subscribe options. There's iTunes, there's Stitcher, there's the podcast feed. So if you've just got a podcatcher like me, then go right ahead and do it. I use a podcatcher for all of my Star Trek, for all my podcasts, as you can see. That's my one. There. That's my one as well. Sound of Football. I do that one too. But anyway. And probably the one in the middle as well, but not all the time. But I'm involved in that one as well because soccer is my other jam, actually my bigger jam. Okay, so that's that. Next, Star Trek Beyond. I've not spoken to you since Star Trek Beyond come out. Oh my goodness. I really enjoyed this film. I went to see it at the Pictures 3 times. I haven't got the digital download just yet. I will do. I'm going to buy the Blu-ray. I'm one of these old-fashioned types who thinks that you should own your media, you should physically hold it in your hands, and rather than have a license to use it. So I'm waiting for the Blu-ray to come out, and I will get that. But I'm totally getting it. I'm totally looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that the movie, if you don't like the JJ films, then okay. You're not going to enjoy this film. If you're sort of JJ neutral, a bit like me, I like the first one quite a lot. I really like the first one quite a lot. In fact, I'd say the first one actually re-engaged me with the franchise. I took a break from Star Trek. I'd say from Series 2 Enterprise through to the 2009 film. I took a few years off and hardly watched any Star Trek, having been from prior to that just like almost constantly watching it. and that was a good thing actually. I think it helped to re-energize me because I've been like following it for since the 80s. So a few years did be good, but I really enjoyed the '09 film, and it really re-engaged me. And I don't really have a problem with the fact that it's a reboot. I mean, people reboot and remake stuff a lot. I don't think it undermines the integrity of the original. I don't think that the Prime Universe is undermined. I think the Prime Universe stuff had a lot of problems, frankly, prior certainly Nemesis, which I really think is a very bad film. I didn't think Insurrection was a very good film. I thought that the Prime Universe had kind of petered out, and that perhaps a reboot was at least if not necessarily a good idea, then an understandable idea. Particularly since it was something that Paramount wanted to do, and Paramount and CBS had separated. Paramount wanted to carried on making the movies and decided to separate themselves, if you like, creatively away from CBS stuff, and I mean that made sense. And I mean I thought that the first film was decent. Thought it was all right. Really enjoyed it. Second film, like many people, I didn't like at all. Very rarely have I. I'm the kind of person who goes along to a picture to the cinema, and I watch a movie, and I'll just really, really enjoy watching a film. I love going, and then it's only when I'm sort of on my way home that I start thinking about it and thinking, was that film actually really good? Because usually I come out of a movie and I think, oh yeah, it's great. Like Die Another Day, like worst Bond film ever, right? Probably the worst Bond film ever. I came out of that movie thinking, no, it was great, and then it was a little while later that I came to my senses and thought, God, actually that film is not very good. And with subsequent viewings, it hasn't got any better, frankly. In fact, it's got considerably worse. I also do a James Bond podcast, by the way, the Odd Job Pod. The Odd Job Pod, yeah, seek that out. That's moderately good. We did an entire DVD commentary of The World Is Not Enough. You should totally check that out. When you're ready to watch The World Is Not Enough, don't listen to it otherwise, because it just won't make any sense. Star Trek Beyond, I don't know whether or not that will resonate beyond the Trekkieverse. I'm not quite sure whether beyond the Trekkie sphere that will resonate personally. I think the Yorktown scene was really, really good. I liked that. And I think that that's something that will carry on through the ages, so to speak. I think that's a great scene, and I think that a lot of non-Trek fans will look back on that. But beyond that, it was a really nice return to some kind of normality. It was, and I'm not the first person to say this, it just felt like a episode of Star Trek. Obviously, an episode of Star Trek in which the Enterprise is blown up, and yes, I do get why people find that quite tedious. It's it's a movie thing, it's a tentpole blockbuster thing. It's a thing that you have to do. It adds extra drama, but yeah, I mean, blowing up the Enterprise, that's happened 3 times now in movies, and I'm not a fan. I've got to be honest with you and say I'm not a fan of them doing that. That being said, by the looks of things, the replacement Enterprise, the Enterprise A, the 1701A, looks decent. I'm going to say that looks really, really decent. What else? The interplay between Kirk, Spock, McCoy, great. Particularly Bones and Spock on the planet. I thought that was really good. I thought Jayla was brilliant. I thought Idris was okay. I think that they could have done more with him. In fact, I think they could have done more with that character. Frankly, I think he was that good. But I think the star of the show was Chris Pine. Nails Kirk. That was he was. I think he's the equal of Shatner in that regard. Now I think he totally owns that role. I like the Enterprise reference. I like the Franklin. I like that element to it, that dimension to the story, even though that was a little bit implausible. But it's a tentpole blockbuster movie. It's supposed to be implausible. So yeah, definitely, I gave it a thumbs up. As I said, I went into the pictures to see it 3 times. And like for example, when I saw Into Darkness, and that I never went back to the pictures to see that. And I do have it on Blu-ray, but only reluctantly because I'm a completionist. I've got my Star Trek collection, and it has to be complete. So I have that, and I watch it from time to time, and it's kind of okay. What else? Yeah, I bought this Star Trek Waypoint from the good people of IDW. I appeared in an IDW comic. Did I mention that? I won't bore you with it now. This is the first edition. Up to this point, they've been doing mostly, if they're with their ongoing series, they've been doing mostly Kelvin universe stuff. And so it's really nice for them to go in to do something set in the Prime universe. And this one is set very much in the Prime universe. It's an anthology series, basically. So they're going to be doing stories from within the Prime universe. The cover doesn't actually bear much relation to what happens in the comic. There's a number of different covers for this one. This is the one that I picked up. I picked it up in Mega City Comics in Camden Town. I won't open it up. I'm not going to show it to you because I think that the good people of IDW don't like that sort of thing, and I'm going to respect their position on that. It's beautifully rendered. There's 2 stories, one featuring Geordie and Data, and another featuring Lieutenant Uhura from the original series, and both are beautifully rendered. The artwork is stunning. The stories are good as well. It's good, intelligent gear, and if you like old school, proper Star Trek, then especially the character-driven stuff, then you'll really enjoy this. If you don't like comics, then you won't enjoy it. So don't buy it. Don't buy it. Okay, what's that? 11 minutes 35 seconds. I think that's enough, isn't it? I don't think I have anything more. Just simply to remind you of Whom Pods Destroy, the podcast. I hope you really enjoy that. I hope you listen to that and subscribe to it. If you've got any feedback, any comments to make, any opinions you want to express, if you want to know my opinion on something relating to Star Trek, then leave some comments if you want to, assuming that you're reading this at all. But until the next vlog, it's goodbye. LLLP.